Okay, welcome. This is the last video, which is reliability. So like what I did in class just now is I did it halfway because the class was too noisy and I couldn't continue. So let me repeat again. I need silence in class so that I can do things and people can actually learn without distractions. Okay, reliability. When you're talking about reliability, what they are actually testing you is the inference skill which you have learned in the first video and the purpose skill which you have learned before last year. Okay, so reliability is the telling whether the source you read can be trusted. Okay, this may or may not be truthful. Okay, it can be truthful as well, or it may not. It may or may not be truthful. But what you're finding out is, can it be trusted? Can And things that cannot be trusted usually have an agenda. If there is a very clear agenda and a very clear motive, you know the source cannot be trusted to be truthful. Okay, so how do you check this agenda or motive? You have to look at the provenance, which is who said it, when it was said, under what context was it said, and this will give you the expectation that you have. You have to know what is the expectation of the author based on who said it, when it was said, and what is the context of it being said. Example, when you talk about who said it, you're asking, could there be certain biasness based on who produced it? Example, if it is a Labour Front newsletter, it will be biased towards the Labour Front. That's what you're checking. That's what you expect a Labour Front newsletter to say. It will be biased to say positive things about the Labour Front. Similarly, if something is from the opposition party, it will be biased against the government. So I will expect it to say something negative about the government. Next, when was it said? This will give you the context. Okay, are there significant events in this time period that led to the production of this source? And what form of government was Singapore under? Okay, what type of government will allow you to detect what the message is? Example, if the source is produced under the Japanese occupation, it will tend to promote Japanese occupation's leadership. Okay, I will expect it to be promoting leadership of the Japanese occupation, despite the fact that I know people are oppressed during this period. Okay, if the source is produced during the election years, I would expect that it will want to promote a particular party to get into government. Or if it's produced during the merger, I would expect it to talk about the promotion of merger, because the time period tells me that this event was happening and this is the scenario that was happening, and thus people are concerned about this. So the relevant people produce all these articles and sources to promote their ideas, what they think about the event or the government. Okay? So does the author and time period lead to certain expectations and outcome? Example, a poster produced by the PAP during 1961, which is the area of the merger, or 1962, which is during the merger. No. It's the period leading up to merger is 1961, 62, and the merger happened in 63, and we separated in 1965. So if something happens in 1961 and 62, I know that people are fighting for this idea of merger. If something happens in 1963, I know that the merger already happened and they are trying to maintain the merger, or they're trying to prove that their side of the argument is correct, because in 1963 to 65 there were many arguments regarding the merger. So articles produced during this period will either be biased towards the PAP's point of view or the Tunku's point of view, and you know that they disagreed on many things. Okay, so take note of when the source is produced. So produced by the PAP during the merger, I would expect it to support the PAP, because during this time they want to fight for merger in order to get independence. Similarly, a poster produced during the Japanese occupation, I would expect it to have a positive image about the Japanese occupation because they have control of the media. So that's what I'm talking about. look at who said it, look at when it was said, what is the events that are happening during this period, which will give you the expectation of what you want the author, what you expect the author to achieve. Okay, because what are you actually writing when you write expectations? It is the motive. I would expect there to be a motive. I would expect there to be a agenda. Hence, because of this motive and agenda, this makes things unreliable. Okay? But for reliability, they are testing you first on inference skills, which means that you have to infer what source is talking about before you can tell me whether it is reliable or not. Before you can talk about the purpose, you must infer the source first. Okay, example. Let's use this offhand example. A and B are best friends. It is a student leadership selection process, period. Student A is already a student leader, highly supportive of student B to be elected into student leadership. So student A says this in an interview during this time period. So the teachers interviewed student A and student A said, student B is highly intelligent, responsible and kind-hearted. Now, is this reliable as a source about student B? Okay, so first answer the question. Student A is not reliable about student B. Then tell me, not reliable in telling me about what? What is your inference? So it always goes back to the main skill, which is inference. What is it not reliable in telling me about student B? It's not reliable in telling me that student B is capable as a leader. Notice again, this is not copying or lifting. It is an educated guess based on the evidence. The evidence is highly intelligent, responsible, kind-hearted. So I can infer student B is a capable person as a leader. So source A is not reliable about student B because student A tells me that student B is a capable leader. How do you know this? Same steps as inference, give me the evidence. Student B is highly intelligent, responsible, kind-hearted, meaning that he thinks student B is well suited as a leader. Now give me the inference first before you talk about the purpose. Okay, so talk about it's not reliable. Okay, it tells me this, that student B is a capable leader. How do I know this? Because he's intelligent, responsible, kind-hearted. This means he's well suited as a leader. Now, the next paragraph, that is when you analyze the provenance deeper. So use the word however. Although, repeat the inference again. Student A tells me that student B is a capable as a leader. Okay, repeat the inference again. It is not reliable because of the motive. Okay, then you talk about the motive. What is the motive? How do you get the motive? You first need to know who and when it was said. So, this is said by student A during what period? Student leadership election period. Hence, because it's said by A and their best friends and said during this period, I would expect student A to promote student B's election campaign. Why? Because they are best friends. As such, student A probably wants student B to be elected into the student leadership. Best friends and the desire for student B to be elected. Hence, that is how I know. This is what I expect of student A because he's best friends and he wants to be elected. How do I know that student A wants student B to be elected? It's because this source was said in the context of the time period where there was a student leadership election. Okay? Hence, then you talk about the motive. This source has a motive, and when you talk about motive, you use the purpose. So I must see an action verb was produced because of the motive to convince, a strong action verb, not tell, not show. Okay, tell, no, show, no. It's convince. Okay, convince what? Convince who? The selection committee is who? That student B is a suitable choice due to his capability. Okay, and then you talk about the desired outcome. In doing so, student A hopes the selection committee will accept and appoint student B to the leadership position. And that's it. 2 paragraphs. First paragraph, you are just inferring. What are you talking about when you talk about whether this source is reliable? Reliable about what? Infer. What is it reliable about, or what is it not reliable about? Second paragraph, you state, however, although it tells me this inference, it is still not reliable because of the motive. And you tell me how you get the motive is because of the provenance, the expectation, and the reason for this expectation. Hence, because of this, I know there is a motive. And in doing this motive, what is the outcome that student A wants to achieve? In that student, the selection committee will accept and appoint student B to the leadership position. Yes. So in the final video, then I will give you the history example.